The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Matthew. When Jesus heard of the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. The crowds heard of this and followed him on foot from their towns. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, and he cured the sick. When it was evening, the disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place, and it is already late. Dismiss the crowds so that they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "There is no need for them to go away. Give them some food yourselves." But they said to him, "5 loaves and 2 fish are all we have here." Then he said, "Bring them here to me." And he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, who in turn gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up the fragments left over, 12 wicker baskets full. Those who ate were about 5,000 men, not counting women and children. The Gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. Are you overwhelmed in life? Perhaps you feel too small for the problems surrounding you, because today families are struggling, single parents, economic stress, young people are leaving faith, experiencing unending wars, and nobody to help, loneliness, and divisions all over. Last May, Pope Leo XIV came out with his first encyclical called Magnificent Humanity, on or devoted to the AI. You know, the AI is artificial intelligence, because he believes that will shape the future of the humanity. But he is particularly concerned about a subtle temptation for all of us, what he calls polite form of resignation. Because, as you know, the AI will be in the hands of the government and the giant corporations. Then he turns to Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. You know the Lord of the Rings? Quoting Gandalf. You know Gandalf? Who offers this counsel. When everything seems too vast and victory unlikely to happen against the powers of evil, this is the counsel he comes with. It is not our part to master all the tides of the world, but to do what is in us for the succor of more years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields that we know, so that those who live after may have clean earth to till. Everybody heard that? In short, what he means is, Gandalf speaks of fidelity, about doing the good that lies within our reach. It is true when we look at the troubles of the world, the future of the technology, divisions in families, loneliness around us, too many needs of the church, and we think, what difference could I make? The disciples in today's gospel felt the same. 5 loaves and 2 fish are all we have here. What is it for so many? How many? So many. 5,000 men, not counting. When I was preaching yesterday somewhere, why did they not count women? Somebody asked me. Of course, in the earlier times, were you given the voting? Even in America, you were given voting for women late, right? You know that history, right? And back in India, it's worse because people don't count women because they're secondary people, you know, and children. So that's why in the East, where Jesus was born, also the same situation. Thank God we are better today. And that's why Moses asked to write a divorce writ, so that it can be little more hard for man to just say, talak, talak, you know. Anyways, apart from that, now, what is it, 5 loaves and 2 fish for almost 15 to 20,000 people? What did Jesus say? Bring them here to me. Because one person can make the difference. Rather, 2 people can make the difference. Who are those 2 people? Tell me. One person, and the other one is Jesus. The survival of the human race depends on this sacrifice principle. That one person who sacrifices makes the difference. I remember my grandmother with 10 children. Of course, 2 did not survive. She just didn't have much to feed. But she worked very hard. And I always was told by my grandmother, by her side, she took and said, God made it possible for me, for what I am today. From 3 acres of land, she got it to 120 acres of land. She educated all of us. I mean, it is only 2 people that took to make a difference. In the book of the Old Testament, Jacob had this overwhelming problem. And that is who, you know? His sibling. He was afraid that he would kill him. Esau would kill him. So he was preparing all kinds of gimmicks, you know. And the magic that worked was because he surrendered to God. And when he surrendered to God, and he was surprised the way he was received by Esau, he thought he would kill him. So, my brothers and sisters, God multiplies what is sacrificed. The miracle did not begin with multiplication, but by surrender and self-sacrifice. Miracles happen even today when we forgive instead of seeking revenge. That is self-sacrifice. When we give generously instead of hoarding, that is self-sacrifice. When we serve instead of being served, that is self-sacrifice. When we choose honesty instead of convenience, that is self-sacrifice. Christ is asking us to bring our 2 fish and 5 loaves, our faith, our prayer, our time, our kindness, our ordinary acts of fidelity, which our parents did, my parents did. Every day, day in and day out, ordinary acts of fidelity to family, to husband, to wife, to children, to community, to society. And place them in His hands. St. John Chrysostom, fathers of the church, says, Christ could have created bread from nothing, but He first accepted the disciples' small offering so that they might become collaborators in His work. God wants us to do it together with Him. Our brokenness, united with Christ, becomes a blessing for others. And that's why Jesus says, bring them here to me, because God needs men and women. God needs you and me. Jesus follows the same protocol even at the wedding feast of Cana. He asked them to fill the 6 jars, right? The jars. He wanted them to fill the containers with the water first. Only then He did the miracle. He could have done from nothing. And not only that, similarly at the Eucharist, what do? We bring what? The bread and the wine, which is the work of our hands, the fruit of our labor. My dear brothers and sisters, my experience, how I experienced the magic of 2 fish and 5 loaves, I will give you a short, brief description. When I came to this country, after educating myself, MFA, Masters in Fine Arts. Yesterday some were asking, what is MFA? Masters in Fine Arts, making films. So I needed money to establish the television station. And I went after the big people. You know who are the big people? The rich people, the millionaires. I found some because I took a class in the UCLA. I went for classes on fundraising and grant writing. Imagine, the priest is going for fundraising and grant writing. You give money without any classes. But I had to do that because nobody was giving me money. So then I found out some big people here, they're millionaires, here as well as in Reno, some of those who own these casinos and all that. But none of them was kind to me. When I went back to India, every time I went for holidays, I was trying to find some rich people there. I identified some rich people there, but it did not work. So finally, one day, I was thinking, what would be the way to go forward? Suddenly, this thought struck me from the Bible, 2 fish and 5 loaves. We started with 2 fish and 5 loaves, which means $2 or $5. 200 rupees or 500 rupees. Or $20 or $50 or $200 or $500. It could be anything, but it has to be a sacrificial giving. And my dear brothers and sisters, we have 8,000 donors now who gave all this, and the TV station came up. At one moment, I didn't have money for the next month because it costs us 100,000 every month. So I had only 50,000. And one of the bishops, the archbishops of Vizag, he was in the bishops, because 13 bishops were in charge. He said, how are you so confident you don't even have for next month's pay? What can I do, Bishop? I said, except that we rely upon God. Bring what we have to God, and then the rest, God does it. So that is the way Today, the 2 fish and 5 loaves are a hope forming spirituality of 5 million people on a daily basis. Not counting all over the world the Telugu people, Telugu speaking people. So what I can say, my dear brothers and sisters, 2 fish and 5 loaves, when you come and place it in the hands of God, God does miracles. I was nobody, I was nothing, but I believed that what I did, I had to sacrifice myself a lot. It was a lot of sacrifice, a lot of let go my dreams, a lot of let go my comforts. And when I put that with God, and God blessed it. And yesterday, I was at a mass, and this dad with 10 children in the Neo-Catechumen family, that is their special community of Catholics who try to live more close to the gospel. And he was telling me how he is tempted to give up sometimes, because God has called him to be pro-life. It's not easy. Sometimes he's tempted like any one of you. But God keeps on doing miracles one after the other so that he can continue on. And I have seen so many people with 2 fish and 5 loaves. That's how they have conquered the world. And that's why Mother Teresa says, not all of us can do great things, but we can do with great love. My dear brothers and sisters, today God is asking us at this moment, if you're feeling overwhelmed with your life, if you're feeling overwhelmed with your issues and problems, bring them to me and I will make it happen. God bless you.